And how do you manage that in the moment, Sam? Like your ego is doing what all of our egos do, push, push, push. And how do you take care of that?
Well, I can't say I'm very good at it, but I do intentionally have a conversation with that ego as I'm going along, and say, you know what, I am good enough. And what appears to be useful right now is being present with this very, very nice man. And he's suffering. And I can't advise him.
Yeah.
No way. And I think what he's most appreciating is the fact that he's walking in a place special to him. And a month earlier, he thought he was dead. So what is the client about in this moment? And if I get myself out of the way, what is going on? What's the question he's not asking himself, or that he's afraid to ask, but it's showing up in my awareness? So that, I think that's a reliable strategy.
Yeah.
To stop thinking about myself and whether I'm good enough or not, and just encounter the client.
Yeah. Yeah. Like sometimes we think we're in the service of the other person, but actually we're just worrying about ourselves. And so to really put the other person back in our focus. What do they need? What are they about? And I really appreciate what you're saying about, like, what might be showing up in me that's coming from the other person. What question is emerging into my organism that they need? Yeah.
And I do believe that there is collective wisdom and that there's a field of thought that occurs. And perhaps a difference between this approach to coaching and to supervision, of allowing myself to be in the field and sensing, and when ideas come up in me, it's possible that I'm picking up something important to the client. And I need to be fully present to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the Jung's idea that there is a field present that we're all connected to in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, tell me if we should postpone this part, John, but today as I was rereading Effective Supervision and the current introduction to it, Peter Hawkins went on to say, add some pages that say beyond good enough. And I thought, whoa, wait a minute, what's that about? So I took another look at it. And he says he's writing about supervision in the 21st century. And he said it must withstand greater demand, higher expectations of quality of service, fewer resources, the great disruption, which he goes on at length to quote about. And I kept saying, you know, like he said, we have to prepare ourselves for this and prepare ourselves for that and so on and so on. And well, I'd love to hear from our colleagues here about that. But is good enough supervision any different than before? And I thought, if anything, in the chaotic environment that he describes, I'm thinking I need to get even better at walking behind my client or sitting next to my supervisee who is in the midst of all of that. Isn't that what Winnicott was writing about? Isn't that what Winnicott was writing about, that the good enough mother could sit in the emotional chaos of the client, the child growing up enough to like my son one day on a Boy Scout outing turned around, he was 12, and he turned around to me and said in front of all of these people, "I hate you, Dad."
Yes, yes. One of those moments. Yeah.
Isn't that what Winnicott was writing about?